Imagine a world where kindness means agreeing with everyone, avoiding tough conversations, and never standing up for what's right. It sounds nice on the surface, doesn't it? After all, who doesn't want to be known as kind? But what if I told you that this kind of kindness could actually do more harm than good? What if I told you that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is to not be kind? Today we are faced with a society that pressures us to be endlessly accommodating, to tolerate behaviors and ideas that go against what we know to be true. We are told that kindness means accepting everything and everyone without question. But there is a greater kind of kindness, one that requires us to speak truth even when it's uncomfortable, to set boundaries and to stand firm in our values even when it's hard. It takes strength to be kind in this way. It takes courage to say no when the world expects you to say yes, and to do what is right even when it's not popular. So today, let's explore a truth that may challenge the way we think about kindness. Not all kindness is good, and not all kindness is the kind we should be showing. Let's dive into the real, powerful, and life-changing force of kindness that stands firm in truth, love, and righteousness. True kindness is not a shallow display of politeness or superficial gestures meant to please others. It is a deep, selfless act rooted in a genuine concern for the well-being of others, grounded in truth, righteousness, and a heart of compassion. In a world where people often confuse kindness with agreeing with everything or avoiding conflict, it is crucial to understand the true nature of kindness, particularly in a spiritual context. At its core, true kindness is about acting in a way that reflects God's love, but not at the expense of truth. It does not simply mean being nice or accommodating to everyone in every circumstance. Often the world urges us to compromise our values to maintain peace or avoid offending others. However, kindness should not be synonymous with bending the truth or tolerating sin. The Bible speaks of a kind of love that does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. This means that true kindness involves guiding people toward the truth, even if it is difficult to hear. When we practice true kindness, it is not about ignoring moral failings or overlooking harmful behavior. It is about leading others to recognize their need for change. This requires a certain kind of honesty, a willingness to speak the truth in love, even when it may cause discomfort or conflict. For instance, telling someone they are heading down a wrong path, even if it is unpopular or hard, is a profound act of kindness. It is not unkind to warn someone who is in danger of destruction. In fact, it is the opposite. Kindness in this sense involves giving someone the opportunity to correct their course, and in doing so, offering them the possibility of a better, more fulfilling life. True kindness also carries a sense of responsibility. It is not passive. It is not about simply going along with whatever others choose for themselves. Instead, it's about making decisions that are beneficial to others in the long term, even if those decisions are not immediately welcomed. This means that true kindness often requires great wisdom. It's about knowing when to show grace and when to set boundaries, when to speak and when to stay silent, and when to stand firm in the truth, even when it's uncomfortable for others. In today's world, tolerance is often seen as a virtue, something to be celebrated and embraced without question. However, there is a danger in excessive tolerance, especially when it comes to spiritual matters. The modern worldview promotes the idea that to be kind, we must tolerate everything, even if it goes against moral or biblical principle. While tolerance in some areas, such as respecting personal freedoms, is important, it becomes problematic when it leads to the acceptance of behaviors and ideologies that are fundamentally harmful or contrary to truth. The Bible teaches us that there are moral boundaries and standards that should not be compromised, regardless of societal pressures. When kindness is used as an excuse for tolerance of sin, it undermines the purpose of both love and truth. True love does not mean accepting everything unconditionally. It means seeking the best for others, which sometimes involves standing against things that harm them. When we tolerate wrong behavior or ideas in the name of kindness, we are doing a disservice to those we aim to help. In the Christian faith, the call to love others is not a call to accept all forms of behavior without correction. Jesus himself was known for showing love, but his love was not a passive acceptance of sin. He demonstrated great compassion for sinners, but he never condoned their sin. Instead, he called them to repentance, to turn away from their destructive ways and follow him. In many ways, tolerance without truth is the opposite of love. It's an empty gesture that avoids confronting what is wrong, leaving people trapped in their own darkness. Excessive tolerance can also lead to spiritual complacency. When we fail to speak out against false teachings, harmful practices, or destructive behaviors in the name of kindness, we enable those around us to continue down a dangerous path. Tolerance in this context becomes a form of spiritual neglect. It's the act of turning a blind eye to the needs of others' souls. This is not the example that Christ set for us. He was not silent when it came to confronting sin and offering people the chance for redemption. True kindness does not tolerate what leads people away from God. It challenges them toward righteousness and reconciliation with him. True kindness, while selfless and compassionate, is not without boundaries. In a world that often equates kindness with passivity or total accommodation, it is important to understand that kindness should be guided by wisdom and discernment. Setting boundaries is an essential aspect of kindness, because without them, kindness can easily be misused or taken advantage of. A lack of boundaries may lead to enabling harmful behaviors, neglecting one's own well-being, or compromising on what is right. When we set boundaries in our kindness, we are not being unkind. Rather, we are exercising wisdom to ensure that our actions are truly beneficial to others. For example, in relationships, being kind may mean not tolerating manipulation or abusive behavior, even if the other person wants to continue their actions. True kindness does not mean enabling destructive actions or ignoring red flags. It means loving someone enough to say no when necessary and helping them see the error of their ways. Boundaries also help protect our own emotional and spiritual health. If we are constantly giving without discernment or without regard for our limits, we may find ourselves burnt out, resentful, or emotionally drained. Setting healthy boundaries allows us to show kindness in a way that is sustainable and effective. It enables us to give to others without neglecting our own needs or values. In this sense, kindness with boundaries is not selfish. It is self-preserving in a way that enhances our ability to continue serving others. Moreover, boundaries help to communicate respect, both for others and for ourselves. By setting clear boundaries, we show others that there are lines that should not be crossed, not out of a desire to control, but out of a desire to protect relationships and maintain mutual respect. Without boundaries, relationships can become imbalanced, with one party taking more than they give. Kindness that lacks boundaries often leads to codependency, where one person is consistently giving at the expense of their own health, while the other person receives without giving back. This is not a true reflection of Christian love, which calls for mutual respect and care. True kindness then requires the wisdom to know when to act with compassion and when to establish limits. Discerning when not to be kind is a crucial aspect of true kindness. While kindness is often praised and encouraged, it is essential to recognize that there are moments when kindness should be tempered with wisdom and judgment. Not every situation calls for a gentle or accommodating response. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is to stand firm, speak the truth, or take a hard stance against behavior that is wrong or harmful. It takes discernment to know when kindness should be expressed and when it should be withheld in favor of a more direct or corrective approach. In the Christian context, kindness is not about avoiding confrontation at all costs. Jesus, in his ministry, displayed profound acts of kindness, but he also demonstrated the courage to rebuke, correct, and challenge when necessary. For example, when Jesus confronted the money changers in the temple, he did so with authority and righteousness, even though his actions were far from what the world would consider kind. Yet, his response was motivated by a deep desire to restore holiness and righteousness, not to harm or alienate those he was confronting. This teaches us that there are times when we must make the difficult choice to speak boldly or take action that may not seem nice, but is ultimately an act of kindness in the long run. Discerning when not to be kind also involves understanding when our actions might enable sin or perpetuate unhealthy behaviors. If someone is engaging in destructive habits or holding false beliefs, it is not kind to simply tolerate or accept their actions. Instead, true kindness may require a loving challenge, a word of correction, or a refusal to participate in behavior that is leading them down a harmful path. This is especially true in spiritual matters. We are called to love others enough to speak the truth in love, even if it is uncomfortable or met with resistance. There are also times when kindness can be misunderstood or manipulated. People may take advantage of your kindness, expecting you to always give without question or to allow them to continue in harmful patterns. In these situations, discernment helps us recognize that enabling bad behavior is not truly kind, it is an act of neglect. A common misconception about kindness is that it is a form of weakness, something that reflects passivity or submission to others. However, true kindness is far from weak. It is a sign of strength, rooted in conviction and courage, in a world where strength is often equated with force or dominance. It is important to recognize that genuine kindness requires great inner strength. The ability to extend kindness, even in the face of opposition or hardship, is not an easy feat. And it calls for a deeper kind of resilience that is rooted in love and integrity. True kindness involves standing firm in one's beliefs while offering compassion and care to others. It takes strength to refuse to compromise on one's values and convictions, especially in a society that often pressures individuals to conform to its norms or to sacrifice what is right for the sake of comfort. To be kind is not to yield to every demand or to avoid difficult situations. It is to face challenges with grace and to respond to others with empathy while holding firm to what is morally and spiritually right. This is where the true power of kindness lies. It requires a balanced strength that stands firm in truth, even when it's uncomfortable, and does so with a spirit of love and respect for others. Kindness also involves the strength to say no when necessary. Saying no does not mean being unkind or harsh. It means having the discernment to set healthy boundaries and protect oneself and others from harm. It takes strength to recognize that sometimes kindness requires tough love, especially when dealing with situations that are harmful or that involve sin. In these moments, kindness does not involve passively accepting destructive behavior, but instead offering the wisdom and the courage to confront it. True strength is found in standing firm for what is right, even if it means facing rejection or misunderstanding from others. Moreover, kindness is not a sign of weakness because it calls for emotional maturity and self-control. It's easy to react impulsively or aggressively when faced with difficult situations, but true kindness requires restraint and the ability to respond thoughtfully. It takes strength to extend grace, to forgive, and to show compassion when it would be easier to hold on to anger or resentment. In this way, kindness is a powerful force that reflects inner strength, not weakness. Moral courage is a critical aspect of true kindness, particularly in a world where the easy path often involves compromise or silence. Kindness, when aligned with righteousness and truth, demands moral courage, the ability to stand firm in the face of opposition and to do what is right, even when it is difficult or unpopular. It takes a deep strength of character to choose the higher road, especially when doing so may lead to personal discomfort, rejection, or criticism from others. In many situations, showing kindness involves more than just offering a helping hand or saying kind words. It requires the courage to confront injustice, to challenge wrong behaviors, and to speak out against what is harmful. This kind of kindness is not passive, it is proactive and sometimes even confrontational. For example, if a friend is living in a way that is destructive or sinful, true kindness may compel us to speak the truth to them, even if it risks the relationship. This is where moral courage becomes crucial, as it gives us the strength to face uncomfortable realities and act in a way that ultimately benefits the other person, even if it requires a difficult conversation. Moral courage also involves the ability to stand up for what is right, even when it goes against the grain of societal norms. In a culture that often values convenience, popularity, and avoiding conflict, standing firm in one's beliefs and convictions takes great courage. To be kind in a way that reflects truth and righteousness means standing against the tides of culture that promote false ideologies or behaviors that contradict moral value. This might mean challenging the prevailing narrative, whether in a workplace, community, or even within a family. The courage to stand for truth, even when others disagree or mock, is a sign of the strength that underpins true kindness. Furthermore, moral courage is not just about standing firm in the face of external pressures. It is also about making the right decisions even when no one is watching. It's about choosing to do what is right for the sake of righteousness and for the well-being of others, regardless of the personal cost. True kindness requires a heart that is committed to moral integrity, willing to do the right thing not for recognition, but because it aligns with what is good and just. In conclusion, the true essence of kindness is not as simple as always being agreeable or accommodating in every situation. It is a deeper, more purposeful form of love that is grounded in truth, righteousness, and wisdom. Kindness without boundaries can be enabling. Kindness without discernment can be harmful. True kindness requires moral courage to stand firm in what is right, to speak the truth even when it's difficult, and to make decisions that reflect both compassion and strength. As we move forward, let us embrace a kindness that does not compromise on truth, but calls others to repentance, to growth, and to a life that reflects the values we hold dear. Thank you all for your time and attention today. I encourage you to continue seeking the wisdom to know when and how to be kind while remaining steadfast in your convictions. May your kindness reflect the love and righteousness that guide us all. Good luck on your journey, and may you always find the strength to be kind in ways that truly matter. Thank you.